Hello everyone and welcome to Let's Talk Idle about Cookie Clicker. Now, most of you probably already know this, but Cookie Clicker was like the one idle game to popularize idle games. Now, it wasn't the first one. I think that was like Progress Quest, but that was like a caricature of modern gaming and how incremental stuff worked, and well, the joke went a bit too far, and people actually made other games. And I think there was also a Dark Room, which was also one of the first ones that could be described as an idle clicker. And anyway, when Cookie Clicker came out, the whole idea of idle games was sort of like brought closer to, well, the more popularized market, I guess. There's not really a market, but I guess more people actually thought like, oh my god, Cookie Clicker is actually seems like this type of game is actually pretty good. And then they made some updates for Cookie Clicker, and it got even more like popular. And then they stopped making updates for it until now, like start of 2016, where there was actually another update, and like the last actual meaningful content update was like 2014. So it's been quite a while, but Cookie Clicker has been updated, and seeing at how important Cookie Clicker is, and since there has been a rather substantial update in some of the game mechanics, I thought I might as well make a little like review of it, because I've reviewed like so many other, well, like 6 or 7 of them, idle games before, and sometimes I talk about how they stand in relation to Cookie Clicker. Like I had this Tangerine Tycoon, which I thought was like Cookie Clicker, but not quite as good, and something like that. So, what is the thing about why Cookie Clicker was so good? Well, it's pretty simple. I guess that's the biggest part. It's pretty simple, and it's easy to like get big numbers. But at some point, you get into this sort of like late game fatigue that back when with Cookie Clicker was actually quite apparent. But it didn't matter too much because you didn't really care about late game too much when you play Cookie Clicker. You just start the game, you buy a few items, you click the cookie a bunch, and you're like, okay, I can buy new stuff to make more cookies. Oh, now the number rises faster, and I don't have to click anymore. I can buy some upgrades for it, and that's really nice. Buy some upgrades so that stuff is more powerful, and then you sort of go from there. So it starts really simple. You get to some big numbers. After some time, the numbers don't really get that much bigger anymore, and you're like, okay, that was Cookie Clicker. That was pretty fun. And it was really easy to like get into. That was like I guess that was the most part of what made it so good. There's also achievements. Achievements coupled with some specific upgrades makes it so you get more cookies per second. And that's pretty much all there is to Cookie Clicker. And after that, they made a lot of updates, so you have more buildings that take an even longer time to do, like get, but they also give you more cookies. And they also did the whole reset system. Now, the whole idea behind that is that at some point when you've gotten a ton of buildings, you've gotten a ton of cookies, you're like, okay, what can I do now? And the maker of the game's name is Ortail, which is, I think is like it's like French, just like Ortail. I can't speak French, whatever. And the idea he had was, okay, you can reset the game and start from zero again, but the next time you do it, you get this new mechanic that makes it so you're just better at everything, which was the like heavenly chips, which is now just called prestige level, which just makes it so, okay, you get more cookies per second the more prestige you have. And what they did with a recent update was they sort of like revamped a little bit to how the whole reset system worked, which is the legacy. And I think I can jump right into that because I think there was nothing else for me to actually go over, like the achievements, upgrades, buildings, it's like everything there is to Cookie Clicker, apart from like the seasons, but I can go over that in a little bit and maybe the research. But let's look at the new upgrade system first that they introduced in the legacy update. So now when you do the reset, which is now called Ascension, you get to this little cool little upgrade tree where you can use your heavenly chips that you gained from just baking cookies. You just randomly gain those depending on how many cookies you gain, and then you can use those to buy upgrades. For example, you can say, okay, I'd like to be able to trigger seasonal events, and then you can make the seasonal events be better. You can trigger like a new thing that allows you to have a dragon, and then you can feed that dragon. You can upgrade your golden cookies. You can upgrade your offline production. You can upgrade. You can get new upgrades for the actual game, and that's pretty. That's like a really cool like thing to change the way how you like view resets, other than, oh, resets just make you bake more cookies faster. It's not quite that. Like, there's a lot of interesting things here, though there are also some like boundaries to it that you'll see very quickly, where you'll notice that after you've played for like a few days, maybe even a week, 2 weeks, you realize, okay, nothing's really changing anymore. So the longevity of this system isn't really that great, but at least for the little time that you have, like exploring everything around here is pretty cool. So you can see maybe you get some upgrades. I don't have enough heavenly chips right now to get anything other than like maybe this. And then you just reincarnate. But before I do that, you can also have a challenge mode, which right now there's only like, well, I only know of like this one right here, where you can gain some upgrades, some achievements that you otherwise couldn't in this like Born Again run, which is like, okay, there's some achievements where it's like, okay, you need to do this and that, but you're not allowed to have like heavenly chips or something. So, because otherwise, if you had heavenly chips, it would be too easy. So you can do this challenge run right here, then you can get those achievements. But that's the only one I know of right now. Maybe they're gonna introduce some more later on. Maybe there are some other that I haven't gotten to yet. But that's about that. So the challenges are not really a thing yet. So you just do the reset. When you reset, you start from new, and then you get your prestige level upgrades and some more stuff right here, and some blasts, and that's all pretty cool. And another thing they added was the cookie dragon. Now the cookie dragon is just a little egg that you can buy, and then you sacrifice some cookies to it, and then you get an aura, and that aura allows you to like get a specific effect on it that you want, and you can sacrifice buildings to it as well, and those unlock new auras. And what do those auras do? Well, they do all sorts of things. You can always have, you can have one at a time until like one of the last upgrades, if not the last upgrade for the dragon, which allows you to have two auras at a time. And they do stuff like, oh, now you're better at clicking, now grandmas are better, now you can trigger a specific golden cookie effect. Oh yeah, golden cookies are a thing too, which I haven't mentioned earlier, but yeah, there's still like some random golden cookies that appear, and you can click them and you gain one of some effects that make your production better. Like, it's pretty simple. Upgrades are cheaper, golden cookies appear more often, like pretty cool stuff all over the place. And as you can see, there's also a ton of upgrades for just all the buildings. And there's also the thing where I'm getting messaged. No, I'm not getting messaged anymore. Good. So there's this thing here, the research facility, and that's one of those things that was updated in one of the very first patches that made it into the game, like a few years ago, where I'm going to show this to you on my other save, where you just research it, and then at some point you unlock some specific upgrades. The upgrades don't really do that much, but what it does is, the more research you do, the more like the grandmas get upset, and then you go into this really weird phase where everything becomes evil, and these weird evil things appear, and they start nabbing on your cookie, and then you lose cookies per second. But the wrinklers like fill up with cookies, and when you kill them, you get the cookies back that they nabbed plus some additional cookies, so you can use that to make more cookies. Though something to note about this is, during this phase where the grandmas are upset, there's a new cookie effects, and there's actually some cookie effects that make you lose cookies or make it so you produce less cookies. So even though wrinklers are nice to make more cookies, you don't really want to be in this phase because of these adverse cookie effects that you can get. So that's really a bad thing. Now, something else that they added every now and then a few years ago with these seasons. Seasons don't really do that much. They usually change like how the golden cookie looks, how maybe some of the game looks. Like there's this April Fool's thing that changes like how or your buildings are. It's not too much. And the only really important thing is during Valentine's Day, for example, you get Valentine's biscuit as permanent upgrades. Whoa, I know it's not really that big a deal. Then during the Halloween season, you can, I think, yeah, if you pop wrinkles during Halloween seasons, you can get Halloween cookies. Then during Christmas, you can get these Christmas biscuits. During bunny season, like Easter season, I mean, you can get eggs. Now, eggs actually do have some specific cool things in some of them, like more CPS longer you've played, or you get more wrinkles and cookies and stuff like that. And also during Christmas you can get this like Santa Claus, and you can upgrade your Santa Claus, and the higher your Santa Claus level is, the more upgrades you unlock, but it's still just another way of unlocking more upgrades. So still, even with all of those in play, it's still pretty simple. Now something else also they added is, if I go into the options and say milk, okay, you can, I got this little thing from prestige levels, like heavenly chip upgrades, where I can say, okay, I want a specific color for my milk. Wow. Incredible. Or there's a specific sound when I click a golden cookie, but I haven't really done anything there because, yeah. There's also a background selector, but that one's not implemented yet, so there's probably going to be more updates soon, which is going to be nice. And there's also the golden switch here, which makes it so gold cookies no longer spawn, but you get more CPS, so that's also pretty nice. So yeah, that's been pretty much it. It's really, Cookie Clicker really is a simple game, and probably because it was so simple and was so good at introducing a new, well, maybe not a new aspect to gaming, but making sure that this aspect to gaming that many people haven't really thought about before or haven't seen before was done with such simplicity and what's the word? It's easy to get into. Accessibility, yes, that's the word. It's very accessible, and with all of that combined, it's probably the reason why Cookie Clicker made idle games so popular, and even like compared to a lot of the idle games that came after this. Like if you haven't paid attention to like some of the Flash game sites like Kongregate that I was on for a really long time, and I still am a little bit, after Cookie Clicker came out, there was a huge explosion of idle games absolutely everywhere. Absolutely everyone made idle games, and a lot of them were actually pretty shit. So Cookie Clicker, in the grand scheme of things, is probably still one of the better idle games, even though the end game, like after you've played for like 2 weeks, isn't that great. It's still a really good one. And especially now with the update, you probably want to check it out again. So that has been Cookie Clicker. Hope you enjoyed that. See you guys next time.